Just now. Okay, if you guys can hear me, we are. I am. It says live on here. We are going to try something different tonight, and I just want to make sure the camera is good. A bit low volume, tiny sound. Okay. I wonder if it's because I've got my Bluetooth. Okay, I just turned my Bluetooth off, so let's. Yeah. Okay, so if I walk over here, is that better? Okay. So we're gonna try something different tonight. Andrew's in the back to make sure the video and audio is good. I know I need to prop this up just a tad. Needs to be propped. There's one. There's two.
We're coming. Live site adjustments. Okay. I go out. Now you can go out there.
Yeah, but it needs to come closer too. We're getting there. Just hold tight. You always think that's.
Hey, can you see where?
Cool, there you
I'm not dropping you.
go.
Are you good?
I think so.
I'm gonna put a hoe behind it, so no pun intended.
He's gonna put a hoe behind the camera.
I am behind the camera.
He is behind the camera. No, so our camera stick, when we were burning last week, was on the Ranger, and it totally got lost. So we are using an easel that we bought for farmers market, and we need to get us a new selfie stick or camera stick or whatever, so that no, I don't have this box. But so, anyways, thank you for joining us tonight. Andrew is gonna be on his phone. He's gonna be here in just a second after he decides if we're good, and he's gonna pull up YouTube on his phone so that we can run through the comments, because where my phone is, I cannot see those, nor will he be able to. So then at least we can give greetings and answer questions and whatnot. But so we've been promising you guys a microgreens video,
which we've got.
which we do have, but it is in pieces. And the so like I said last week, I got it shot, and then like I went and looked back at my video, and it was like half there because my phone ran out of
I'm not on vacation.
storage, and oh, somebody has to be in his own vacation. He's not. He's headed this way. Um. Anyways, so what we thought we would do, because today is our microgreens filling day and all that kind of stuff, is just to walk you through how we do it on the live. So if you guys have any questions or whatever, you guys can ask them in live time and we can talk through it. And then just kind of see where things go from there, like, live usually does. Do I? He's taking care of the puppies. They followed us out here to the greenhouse. Well, they're puppies, so they still need some attention. And oh, yes, and they've come to this very bad habit that we're trying to break, chasing cars down the gravel road after they turn off the highway. So what we're going to do is we are going to do peas tonight. And if we want to go for anything else, then we can. But so this is what we use for our peas. They are a thicker bottom tray. They're called a 1020, right, Andrew?
Those are 1020.
Yes, they are 1020s.
Those are your standard 1020 trays. That's just a standard.
Yeah, so this is just a standard 1020 tray. But it is a deep tray versus the shallow tray. So in the either one of these will work fine for if you're wanting to do peas, especially if you're going to be cutting them by knife, and we'll go over that here in a little bit too. We have decided, now that it's starting to going to be getting warm here before too long, we are going with the deeper tray. So what that's going to do is, while they are growing, allow you more soil to be put into the tray, so that the roots, so that your plants don't wilt out as fast as if they were in these shallower trays.
Well, why is that?
Why is that? Well,
good evening, everybody. I am going to have to slouch down or adjust it, but the reason that is, and this is our other tray that we do use. We use this a lot, and this is just a slightly larger, still a shallow tray, but slightly larger, made for microgreens. But the reason we tend to put peas in a deeper tray, not only for our cutting purposes, but if you look at the bottom of peas, the roots are just a carpet, and that is.
And it's like a half inch of carpet and a half inch of soil.
Yeah.
So
you can literally just pull these out and do that. Makes great chicken feed, and that's what we're doing with them, obviously. So
yeah, so these were cut today, and we go ahead and do a regrowth on them so that we can feed them to the chickens. It's just a multi-purpose, basically like a fodder food. It will take those about 2 weeks to regrow before we feed them to the chickens. So we just kind of have it sitting on the table back here, and just keep watering it and let it do its thing. And if they don't grow back or we're ready to throw them to them, they love just scratching through it and grabbing the peas and whatever's on there off. Give them something else. Yeah, that's better. He's doing a little adjustment. So, these are the trays. The next thing guess before that is actually what you want to do. I'll just walk through step by step on how from start to finish. Okay. So this morning I went ahead and we are soaking peas. Okay. So in here I just have water. Usually it's just warm water, what I start off with. But we soak them for 4 to 6 hours. We have soaked them all the way up to 24 hours. The 4 to 6 hours is a new adjustment for us, something that we are doing for the sunflowers to get better germination. But I've also seen a good change on the peas too. So you can soak them up to 12 to 24 hours.
Sunflowers I would not. It's really
No, just the peas.
Yeah.
Just the peas. You can soak them up to 24 hours. But I've seen a better growing with only 4 to 6 hours. So what you'll do is you'll go ahead and get your container of, whatever, and put some water in it. You'll dump your peas into your bucket, and you want the peas covered with water by, I don't know, an inch or two, just a little bit. They're not like navy beans, like you're soaking for ham and beans, where the beans absorb the water and you basically have no water at the end. You don't cover them really well. These don't do that. They don't blow up like beans do. So I've just got, regular peas in here. I know you probably can't see that completely. So these have been soaking since 8:30 this morning. And about lunchtime is whenever I usually go ahead and start seeding things, but we wanted to go ahead and let you guys see how we're doing. So from this point, what we're gonna do, we get that counter or cameraman. That would be great. Yeah. So Andrew's gonna cameraman it for us, and
don't know how steady I'll be, but we're gonna try this. So
okay. So you're just gonna take a colander, like you would for spaghetti and noodles and whatnot, and we're gonna drain off our water, and then we're going to rinse the peas.
high tech. Don't have a drain right now, so she has a bucket sitting underneath of it.
And then I just reuse my water into the soil to, I don't know, to get it wet. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my hose. And like I said, whenever you go to soak them, you're going to want to also have warm water whenever you're rinsing them. It just kind of jump starts them to warm them up whenever you go to sew them onto your tray. So there's some warm water. Now we're going to just rinse these off really, really good.
Which really just helps with any kind of bacterial or fungal growth or anything like that. Just getting the seeds clean.
Okay, so you don't need to rinse them for, a long period of time. It's like Andrew said, you're just rinsing the stuff off so that because it was sitting in that water, we just want to rinse it. Okay, so our next step is to go ahead and get our trays lined with soil, and then we will do our peas. So that for my measuring purposes. Okay, so like I said, we use the deeper trays.
At least now that it's quote unquote starting to be warm, we're going to start using the deeper trays.
Yeah.
Now, next week's forecast doesn't look as warm as what it should be, but we're going to hit 60 this week, so we're right there at the beginning of the season. So.
And now this is super high tech too. This is just my measuring scoop. It's a old lunch meat container. But what I do is I put 2 of these into each one of our trays.
And that makes sure that you're actually getting moist soil into that part.
Yeah, so on your soil, we just brought new soil in, and it's fairly mixed. So whenever we bring soil in, it's like super powdery, because it doesn't have any. Here's one that we brought in that we have not added any moisture to. I mean, it is just dusty is all stinking get out. Okay, and so then we soak the heck out of our soil, our potting mix, so that it clumps together, and then it'll just kind of fall apart whenever you kind of wiggle it a little bit. A couple of things with that. The biggest thing with that is whenever you go to water your tray, you're not trying to get your soil wet before you water in your seed, whether that be for microgreens or for things that you're seeding into your tray. Your soil's already wet. You're just going to dampen up your seeds and get them watered in, and it doesn't take much at all. That way you're not watering your seeds out of your soil trying to get your soil wet. So for our microgreens, I do 2 of our little containers. I've already got 1 in here. There's 2. Okay, so now we are just going to spread this out. Like so. And then we have another high-tech tool here, a 2x4.
Because I have not made her a piece of plywood yet to flatten it all out and do it the way I need to do it, but
Andrew's moving you guys all over the place.
I'm sorry. Hey, big kid, have a good night. We haven't said hello to whoever's here.
Well, that's because you were supposed to be on your phone, but
AMC.
Hello.
Tag and B.
An external might be okay.
Yeah.
I think we have one, so that's good to know.
And Hippocrates.
Okay. So our next step on the microgreens tray is just to firm up the soil. So if Andrew will tilt down a little bit, that might be a better place.
I'm working on it. I'm working on getting you a good spot here.
Yeah. Okay. So all we're gonna do is firm up the soil, because we're not planting into the soil. It's just a place for our seeds to sit on top of, and then our roots will go down in. So just like that. Now you can make a little template that Andrew just hasn't gotten to yet, of like a piece of plywood that fits down in the tray. So all you have to do is just like set it on there and you don't have to do, you know, around like that. Okay, so that's it. Just so that it's nice and firm and we're not planting our seeds. So the next spot is I need my seeds, sir.
Okay, so because you use a non-technical, I'm going to knock this phone off of here.
Yeah, it's not on there very happiness.
So if you would, because you're using standard trays, let's go ahead and you don't have a standard measuring cup, do you? I thought we did in here.
No, but you know what? This is one of those cups that come off of a thermos with the lid inside, the cup inside of it. They're out here in the garden. So I'm assuming that's probably a cup.
That should be a cup.
Yeah, probably an 8-ounce cup.
So we'll just go off that. We're going to call that a cup because roughly it probably is.
But I'm just gonna divide these between the two trays.
And so if you're measuring out, it'd be the same dry as it would be wet. So that's 2 if you put in there. It's about 3 and a little over 3 cups.
Yeah.
I'd probably say about 3.5 cups. Between 3 and 3.5 cups is what I would probably put in there. You can definitely get by with 3 cups and be absolutely fine.
Okay.
Now, this is peas, so 3 cups for peas.
We literally are just going to spread them out. It's okay if they get dirty because we are going to wash them in here in a second whenever we water them in. And then on top of that, whenever you harvest them, you're not harvesting the pea itself, you're harvesting the
shoot.
Yeah, the vegetation that comes off of it. So basically on peas, it covers like the whole tray whenever that's in a single layer of peas on your tray. So the next thing that we're going to do is just kind of water these.
I like to actually press them down sometimes, but that kind of singulates that seed. You don't have to, but
well, the thing is though, yeah, you don't have to. The thing is though, whenever we get done watering, I stack them.
Yes, the freezer is supposed to be cold. So David must be working. He's back here getting seed out of the deep freeze. I'm guessing he's working on flowers. He does the flowers, so flower seed at least.
I'm gonna come around on the backside of Andrew here. He's gonna flip you guys around, and we're gonna water these in. I'm gonna show you how much water I actually put on them, which is not much. And then we will.
Do-si-do.
Give me a second, my water shut off.
It won't be in there. It should be.
Okay. And that's all I do. That's all watering that I do because my soil is already wet, and I'm just doing a little watering. And then what you want to do is stack them.
Now the thing that is best, because this lower one has actually got the weight of this one, this top one, it's best to put some weight in it. So we will generally have a paver or two, and if you can get just those from Lowe's or any place like that, or rock, anything in there, these will actually start pushing their way right up, and that's when you kind of know that they're ready to come off. So
we'll put these in the germ chamber for 2 days, and you'll see that they started to sprout. And then we'll leave them stacked for a couple days out on the tables until, like Andrew said, they start to raise up a little bit. So the thing about microgreens is the longer that you kind of keep them stacked, the leggier they will get.
Or at least in dark.
In the darkness, like anything, if you find a weed that's underneath fabric or whatnot, it doesn't really put on its leaves until it starts finding some sunlight. These do the same thing. So you're going to have a longer shoot on your pea the longer you keep it kind of in the dark and covered up. So whenever they start to sprout and they just start to raise their own tray just a little bit is when we unstack them. So then they can grow up and do their thing. I do have 2 trays over there that we just unstacked.
Let's take a walk over here.
So these are trays from last Monday. And you can see that I unstacked
especially
them.
That one in the back. You can see how translucent almost still they're just coming out of that. So
yeah, I just unstacked these yesterday. No, today. I unstacked these today. And they've
already reached up.
Yeah, they've already reached up. So it gives you an idea on how fast they grow.
So you're gonna do some cutting, or
we can do some cutting. That way you guys can see that too. This here is a tray that is going to chicken food. It is edible, but for us, it's past
its prime.
Past the young stage, I guess you would say.
It's edible, but it's not going to be as sweet as what it normally would be, as far as a pea. But if you were to take the tops of them, they probably are. But the further down you get,
the stemmier
it's going to be. So
basically, we've called this chicken food.
You didn't bring the other trimmers out, did you?
No, I didn't.
David, would you run and grab those? They're on the wash pack area, the hedge trimmers.
The hand. They're in that big crate basket that has like the rubber bands and stuff in it. So there's a couple of ways that you can harvest them. One is by knife. The other one is by a hand hedge trimmer that David's going to go grab for us. We get these serrated knives at Johnny's, and they're fairly inexpensive. $9, I think.
$8 or $9, and taken care of, they'll last a year easily.
Yeah, we've got some that are 3 years old that we've had around. This year is first year we're replacing them. They are very, very sharp, and they will cut your finger really easily. But
He says so beautiful.
Thank you.
At least on the piece.
I know, not me.
No,
it's okay.
She may be talking about both.
Talking about the vegetation, all the plants, how beautiful they are. So, to harvest these though by knife, you're gonna just take a handful and take your knife, and you're gonna want to cut, I don't know, a 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the top of the pea. And that's it. Well, see, I got a little too close. And you're just gonna harvest. Of course, we put this somewhere else.
And you got a little too close just because there's one with still with a peat on it.
Yeah. So, what is best to do, whenever you're harvesting?
He says, I'm so interested. So,
is to, I'm doing this for you, lady, so that you can see. I know you have lots of questions.
and again, we are going to do a video and put a video out so you can go back and watch this as a video.
Live will come back and you can go back. But, so whenever you harvest these, like any other plant, you really don't want to take off all of their leaves if you're wanting them to continue to grow. So the best thing to do is to get, low, but you also want to leave, a leaf.
The shorter you cut, the longer it's going to take to regrow because it has to push out.
It's got to have a little solar panel, there to be able to regrow. But that's it. I mean, it literally would take you.
Well, here, and David's coming
2 minutes
now
to harvest this off by a knife. Okay. Now,
hopefully it's charged.
So the other way that we would harvest peas or harvest micros is just by a little hedge trimmer.
I think we got this one off of Amazon.
$20 or $30.
Yeah.
It's a rechargeable one.
We just wipe it down with the blade, and we use generally like a vegetable oil or
olive oil or something to grease it.
Yeah, it's generally olive oil.
Food safe oil, to keep it from
rusting or anything like that.
Like that. And it's the same thing as you grab a handful.
And you want to make sure your hands are out of the way.
Yes, you do. And just trim.
And what we would do lots of times is we would tip the tray up, especially younger ones, and have the bowl sitting down here.
And that way you can just trim and it falls off into the bowl. Like so.
But you could literally, especially if the soil's deeper, this is something you could cut every 2 weeks and just keep feeding chickens. At some point you'd have to put some type of fertilizer in there, but you could easily get at least 2 cuttings, at least probably 3 cuttings off of this. So
that's it as far as start to finish goes. Now, a couple of tips: the day that you're going to harvest, you don't want to water them 12 hours.
Why do you not want to water them?
You don't want to water them. You want to give them 12 hours from whenever you watered them, because
it's not really a matter of time. It's a matter of you want the vegetation. You want the vegetation
dry.
Yeah.
And what that does is keep them from.
Well, they keep on the shelf a lot longer.
Is a lot longer if they're dry whenever you harvest them and put them up. So I've had peas last 3 weeks, up to 3 weeks. I mean, they say microgreens are only a week long shelf stable, but I don't find that at all. I find that I can get most of my microgreens to about 2 weeks, if not even 3, in the fridge, in a plastic bag, just kind of.
And you can tell with microgreens because they get mushy if they're going back.
Yeah, kind of like lettuce. They start to melt and get that gooiness on them. So,
but the drier they are, the longer they'll last in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't want them drying out per se in the fridge either. We keep ours in a plastic because we keep it bigger. We just keep it in a plastic bag.
Just a plastic bag.
It's not sealed or anything like that, but it's folded over to where it's.
Yeah, just a folded over bag. They need just a little bit of humidity, which they make on their own in that bag.
Yeah.
So you don't have to add any water to it or anything like that, and they'll keep. So that was our demonstration for you guys because we hadn't been able to get a video out, but thought that it would be a good chance to do it and allow you guys to ask any questions if you had them.
And if there is any questions, just let us know. The other
Yeah.
thing that the big thing with any microgreen, especially if you're doing it inside, is ventilation, and they need airflow. The the tighter I'm really kind of surprised that these have not molded or anything like that. But the more vegetation, obviously, the less airflow they have. It doesn't hurt these things to have a fan put on them. Lots of times, if they are wet, we'll put a fan on them to dry them, so we can cut them. Um, it's if there's air blowing constantly on them, obviously they're going to dry out faster. So it's something you just have to kind of watch with the water. Oops, sorry, people. And but really, the water is the challenge with just keeping these things moist is the job.
Yeah.
If you take these things and you unstack them, and there is a little bit of mold on this stuff, I'm not too worried about that because the first time you water that, it's going to disrupt that mold fungus on there, and it's going to kill it. It's going to kill it. And as long as you have good ventilation after that, then that mold's not coming back. So it's not going to hurt anything if you pull it out. And then the other thing, let's kind of look at a few different things with this, but peas don't do it near as often. I know. I'm looking to see if I can find them on this one.
We've been pretty mold free.
I'm not looking for mold. I'm looking for what you will get sometimes. A lot of times.
I know what you're looking. You're looking for the non-flavor stuff.
Is root hairs, and peas don't do it as bad. But sunflowers, when we get to those sunflowers, we will have to show you those. But they get a really fuzzy white all over the bottom of them, and that is root hair, is what it is. But since we've been soaking them for 4 hours, it actually has decreased that. So, but you can kind of see the varieties that we are doing right now that we'll be showing you. These are overspent. These are chicken food right here. Sunflowers are a very touchy thing. They're really good, but they have to be harvested at the right time.
Yeah, they bolt really fast.
Well,
really bolt.
They get true leaves really fast.
Yeah, they do.
And once they do that, those leaves they're fuzzy.
You don't want to eat that.
And it doesn't taste very good. We've got broccoli back here, Tokyo Bacana. This is arugula. I believe this is kale. I don't see any radish this time, but
I harvested.
Oh, okay. Well, we harvested it today, so this
is actually the mild mix.
This is the mild mix.
It's like 2 weeks ago.
But this is still very harvestable, very edible. This is something you could put this in a salad just the same. Microgreens are really one of those things. It's whatever you want and however old you want to harvest them. Some are better, some are not. Like the sunflowers, they're not very good once they get. This one's going to try to go to flowers. What that one's going to try to do, but
which we have not taken any of them to flower, but I have thought about it, just to see if what would come about them. But
do you want to take a quick tour of the greenhouse while you're in here, and then you can
and then we can just
set up and we can chat.
Go for it.
Well, you do it, and I'll.
You're gonna be
It's a lot better to have a face talking than
just
the blind.
Than the blind leading the phone. So I don't really know where to start, but
you start right there.
Start right here. So there really is no rhyme and reason besides the fact that there's trays that we do like 3 trays of one or whatever, and it goes into that succession. Those all kind of stay the same, but really it's whatever I have space for. But I guess really there is kind of a little bit of a
I have a plan on how many beds I have.
No, I mean as far as like
your
the
placement?
heaters down there, our placement of them.
Yeah.
Since our heaters down there, I like to put the tomatoes and the peppers, anything that needs a little bit warm. goes down towards the heater, and then all of our colder stuff kind of comes up here. The lettuces and the pak choy and green onions and whatnot are all up here. So,
and that's the reason is because you've got that heater. We do run a fan in here. We don't have any overhead fans right now, but
no, but we do run a bottom fan to kind of help keep things
circulate.
circulating.
But on this end of the tunnel, we've got a backup furnace, and it doesn't kick on very often, but it's set at 50.
Yeah.
And so if it kicks on, that kind of tells you that one side of the tunnel right now is probably 70, 60, 65, 70 degrees. The other side can be down to 50, but.
So these here, I would say, are about ready to go in the ground. They were planted on February 18th.
So a month ago.
A month ago.
Which is what we find lettuce, generally speaking, is always a month to three weeks to a month.
Yeah, is about 4 weeks. And so if I can pull them out of the tray and they keep themselves together, maybe with a little bit of root on them, then they are ready to go.
And that's all one planting of Salanova there?
Yes, this is all Salanova.
Okay.
And Salanova is one of our biggest lettuce producers that we do. So it gets lots of trays
year round.
Year round. It gets lots of trays every single week.
Yep.
Kohlrabi, which
is not ready.
I don't know if kohlrabi, and this might be something that
we're testing this.
That they don't transplant very well. We'll see when they're ready. But right now I can pull that and it's definitely not ready. So what else we got here? Head lettuce. And then
which you just planted out.
Yeah, I did just plant out that one back there, that variety back there. These both are new to us this year. This is Red Fire. And that one back there is Canis. And they are ready to go out too. The one thing that we run into at this time of year is it's kind of a crapshoot. So you plant a lot of things in the hope that you can actually get them in the ground because spring came early. We didn't have a wet spring, kind of like all the factors that go into gardening, that if you do have that chance, then you do have something that you can put in the ground. And so a lot of the stuff where I say it is ready to go in, we are completely full on our bed space and we are waiting for the rain to stop and the beds to dry out so that we can get stuff into the garden. Some of it just might end up being a loss because we can't get it into the garden. And that's just the risk that you take.
Be it asked, can you save seeds?
Off of the
depends
the
on
microgreens, I'm gonna say no.
Well, microgreens are turned over, so no, you wouldn't be saving seeds off of those.
Yeah.
But you can take any sunflower and make it a microgreen if you save seeds. If we're doing microgreens, but anything else in here, lettuce, you possibly could. A lot of the Salanova is not an heirloom lettuce. It's not hybridized, but it is a hybridized, but we don't do a lot of, when we do a lot of our production, we aren't doing it for seed savings. We keep a bank of lettuce seed and stuff for seed savings.
Yeah.
So that if we need to, we do. But as of right now, no, not a lot of this does do a seed savings. Our peppers and our tomatoes are things that we can save seed from.
Yeah, they're heirloom.
The green onions are, it's just a matter of if we would ever let them go to seed. But as of right now, we do not save any seeds just because of the production that we do. It's something we definitely keep in. And the other problem with saving seeds is the amount of varieties that we do have that would cross-pollinate. And you'd never get back to the same type of lettuce that you're saving. So I hope that answers your question.
So these here are experiment this year. That is an artichoke plant. And
They still have, he's not quite as root bound as I want him to be. So he's got a little bit to go yet, but that's a perennial that we are putting in our perennial.
Well, that was a discussion we had, and we were under the understanding as a perennial, but it not necessarily is it a perennial. It depends on where your location is at. It sounds like.
Yeah. So we're gonna give him a shot. And
B asked also, what are you planning? What are you hoping to get into the ground outside now? Question mark.
Lettuce, kohlrabi, green onions.
Did you do a video today? I don't know if you put it out or not, but
I did a farm walk today, but I haven't put it out yet.
Okay, so did you show the outside row cover?
Yes.
Okay, so be on that to answer your question. There's a lot of things that we could if the moisture levels would cooperate with us. And the reason we can do that is the row cover. And we'll put that video out since she walked that through it. I'll put that in tonight so we can release it tomorrow morning. But the row cover will allow us, we've got kale outside right now because we had an open window to get the kale out, and that's both curly kale and lacinato.
Yeah, the dinosaur.
Which is the dinosaur kale. Onions should be out right now. Green onions could be out right now. The lettuces could be out right now. So a lot of our stuff could actually be out right now. Chard could be. You might have to double row cover that.
Yeah. Because it's kind of a celery stalk on it, so it can't get super cold.
Yep.
But it can get.
And under normal conditions, I mean, we are supposed to go. Wind chill this morning was like 15 degrees here.
Yeah, it was cold.
Which is pretty chilly, even for some of this stuff, and that's the chance we take on some of this. But we could even get celery outside right now under row cover, but it's going to be slow. But with row cover, you can double row cover it. You can even triple row cover it. And it's not a big deal to mess with. It's pretty easy to mess with and take off and take on. The wind is the big issue, and you have to have, as we found out, staples. Now that's a whole different video right there. Is how we did staples.
Yeah, so that was something that Andrew and I were talking about the other day. B, I think you were talking on. Well, we didn't catch you this Friday. It was last Friday, I think. Anyways, you were talking about your garden and just how much weeding and stuff that you had to do, and I was just like thinking through, if we were to ever go back to a home garden, how would that look? And this year we are doing a lot of fabric, burning holes in fabric, and so it really cuts down on our labor, cuts down on the weeding. It helps with developing the soil into, a good, or, you can mulch underneath it basically with plant material and just kind of really build your soils with it, and just how beneficial it actually is. Me personally, I really don't like looking at all the black, but as Andrew had said as we were talking through this, once that vegetation grows up, you really don't see it. But just that might be something that
particularly
we do on another.
I'll try to get the camera here for a little bit.
There you go.
Wrong way. There we go.
There you go. But that might be a video or something, maybe another live that we go through and just talk through the benefits of how to ease the stress and workload on a home garden. Because whenever we were home gardening, I mean, the rain impact on the soil is just
and that's
hard,
the
and
thing
all
we
the
always
kind of
found.
things that come with it.
Yeah, and the thing that we always found was really difficult. I'm gonna try. This is really weird. So I'll stand like this. Sorry.
The camera's like backwards.
David, do you want to hold this for a second? Employ the cameraman. If you stand right here, you can look at the camera and see where you're at. Like, there you go. So yeah. You scoot over. There you go. Gotta be centered, right? But the thing that we always found was the hardest thing was the rain and the moisture anyways. And so with the weed fabric, we could never, without the weed fabric, we could never get in and we'd plant, it'd be perfect, and then you get a week of rain, and your weeds are already there. And so even with compost and just the amount of compost we'd have to have, there again, I know you've got
Or throwing
your
straw in it
your
and all
lovely
that kind of
pile
stuff.
that Tag's brought in of the manure, but even having that stuff, you're going to have the weed seed in that. You're going to have this stuff, and it's going to have to compost for quite a long time. But with the weed fabric, it's quite amazing on how the
It changes the composition of the soil.
well,
Like,
it does, and it keeps the heat down. So in the middle of the summer, I mean, you can have all this stuff, and it's still 80 degrees. We've found so much benefit. We would love to go back to eventually, but especially at the scale we're at, and even at a large homesteading garden, I don't know that I would get rid of the fabric.
Yeah.
Especially if we're talking long-term crops. If we're talking any kind of squash, pumpkins, tomatoes,
even,
peppers, cucumbers, those are things that I would never get rid of the fabric at this
yeah.
point. And the fabric will last 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, especially if it's taken care of, put away. The edges are burnt with a torch. We haven't figured out. I did find one rip in one the other day that once it did, it'll rip straight across, but you can just melt that right back down and it's good to go again. So
Yeah.
just one of those things that definitely is worth looking into.
Yeah. So that was a squirrel for you, I guess. That was just a thought that I had the other day.
And so with the row cover, when we put that video out, the one thing that we did, the row cover is just a knitted fabric, and it doesn't it with a good wind it'll rip up staples, or it'll rip through the staples, I should say. And so what we did is we just took water line, and some of ours is just thinner water line that we had, and drilled 2 holes in it, put the staple in there, so the staple had this 6-inch piece that it would actually go in, and that actually stops it from ripping. It's a rip stop essentially. So
yeah,
and that has worked perfectly. We had, I don't know, 30 mile an hour winds, 40 mile an hour winds last night, and everything survived out there beautifully. Sounds like so.
Yeah, well, I put a couple staples back into the ground, but it didn't rip through it. It just popped the staples out with the thing on it. So
okay.
Anyways, I guess we'll continue on.
Hippocrates says here in Northeast Arkansas, starting tonight, we have like 5 of 7 nights below freezing. And we are in the same boat.
We are. Not that cold though.
Saturday is going to be, I think it's in the teens for the low, and then we start working next week. We start working our way back up. But again, with the fabric, kale's safe lots of times down to 20 degrees.
Yeah.
Out in the open. So
I'm not too worried about it.
We haven't seen anything detrimental. There again, it's a risk you take on some of this stuff, but rope fabric, and like I said, you can double the stuff up. Generally, they say 2 degrees is what it keeps it warmer, but I think that's, again, it's depending on what the soil temperature already is from your sun and all this other stuff outside. So, but we'll continue on the little tour here.
This is our second planting of tomatoes. These are a celebrity variety that we're trying this year.
And these are what I would call our production tomatoes.
And they are determinate.
They are determinate. They are not an heirloom. They are organic determinate. But this is since we froze the greenhouse, this was our next succession anyways. So those are looking good. Those are only, when did you plant those? February 19th. So those are a month old. Not quite a month old. So 3 weeks old on those.
Yep.
And then what do you have next to those?
Green onion. Oh, that's a pak choi.
That's pak choi, which is an Asian cabbage.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So they get nice little heads. They're good in a lot of different things. Stir
fries and grilling.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
The whole plant is edible.
Yeah.
So this is your.
Right there is a radish microgreen.
In your salads. Yep. So this is all lettuce, that Salanova. And this is, I can't see what that says.
3.6.
3.6.
That was last week.
So she just planted these.
That was last week.
Last Monday.
cucumbers have not come up yet.
Okay, so you got cucumbers there. So all these peppers are way behind where we'd like them to be, but they did get froze out. These all were frozen. They did not have their true leaves out yet, so we're thinking that's what actually saved them. But
And I haven't seen any issue on them.
they got good color. There is some issue. I'm not sure if I can get into this one right there. There's some discoloration. And
this one's got a little funkiness to it.
But for actually having frosts on these things, I'm amazed.
Like they froze. I mean, like you guys remember that. They completely froze. So the majority of the rest of this is a lot of lettuces. We're getting into the herbs. Well, over here I've got eggplant. And this is a new eggplant that we're doing this year. It's called Fairy Tales. And it's a miniature eggplant. Supposed to be really, really good. So
it's pink and
white.
Pink and white. It's only about 3 inches long.
Yeah,
4 inches long.
It's a little guy. Which we've talked about that before. And then this is my celery. Now the one thing about celery is that you keep thinking that it's never going to pop up. It's like a 2-week in the germination chamber, and then you bring it out, and it's still sitting here doing nothing, and then all of a sudden, like, it decides to do something. So, like, this is from 4 weeks ago. It sat in the germ chamber for 2 weeks. It's been sitting here since then for another 2 weeks, and I just start seeing it is just now starting to pop those little guys up there. You can kind of see them. So success. It's a mystery.
It's always kind of a surprise, right?
It is kind of a surprise.
So Hippocrates said per Elliot Coleman, which Elliot Coleman is kind of looked at as the grandfather of market gardening. Mm-hmm. 1 zone south for each layer of cover. So as a zone, I believe we're zone 5. Mm-hmm. A. Because it goes A is higher than the B, I think. And so we're going. I'm going to say we go down to a B, which would be South Missouri. And that's about true. They've done a lot of studies on the row cover inside of tunnels. Even just having a cold caterpillar tunnel or a high tunnel that what we have with row cover on the inside, no heat supplemented whatsoever. They never saw anything below like a 26-degree temperature on stuff, even in the coldest nights up there. So, and when it was down in single digits, I believe. That is. And then B had asked, I do have cloth ground cover. I need yard staples. You have knowledge on different yard staples.
So the yard staples that you get from like Lowe's and whatnot
are junk.
Well, they're short and they're very thin.
Yes.
And so the landscape fabric staples.
We can bring you staples. I imagine she's not going to do a whole lot before Midwest, is she?
I don't know. When are you thinking that you're gonna start garden?
We can bring staples out to you.
We can bring staples out to you. That way you've got good staples, because the ones
I'll bring you a whole box.
The ones at Lowe's you don't want those.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to really go to a produce supply or greenhouse supply store.
Yeah.
There is 2 different size staples. There's a big staple.
Hummert, I think, is down in Kansas City.
I believe there is a Hummert down there.
And you might be able to find them there.
Prices are crazy through Hummert. I did find that out.
Okay.
But if you're not planning on doing very much ground cover before Midwest, we can get them to you.
Okay. Yeah, we'll bring them whenever we come for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So continue on.
Then I have the soap plant, as Andrew likes to.
The soap plant.
The soap plant. This is cilantro. Some people think it tastes like soap. Others love it in their salsa.
No, cilantro. I don't mind cilantro.
You don't mind the cilantro?
Huh.
I thought you did. I know your mom says it tastes like soap.
No, that's not. That's her. The beets,
And
I
you
agree
think
with.
the beets taste like dirt.
Yeah.
So these did get hit a little bit by that cold that came through, but everything's looking really good.
Now,
And then
I wish the phone could smell, because you could smell this, you could smell this, you could smell this. It's all. I mean, she does her
this
hand like
is
this.
lavender and oh,
It just
it's
makes the whole
just
greenhouse smell.
so wonderful. And then rosemary. And if you know these seeds between rosemary, lavender, thyme, oregano,
I'm very happy with the rosemary, because rosemary is notoriously hard to germinate. And I don't think she's not intending to have one per cell there by any stretch of the
no,
imagination.
so that's what I was. So if you have ever messed with these kind of seeds, they are like, the seed ticks that the only way that you know that they're on you is because, well, you just kind of start getting a little red dot. That's how small these stinking seeds are. I mean, like, so it's one of those, put it in your fingers and kind of go pixie dust and voila. And hopefully you get into like all of your cells, because
and we're gonna do some cuttings.
I don't know how else to do it.
When we get these repotted, we're gonna do some cuttings when they get a little older. We may go ahead and do another seeding of them, just so we have some more seeds started. But a lot of this is going to revert. We're going to actually put some pots here in the greenhouse.
Yeah, so we can get some early cuts off of them.
And so we can keep them through the wintertime.
That too.
And we're going to have fresh herbs through the wintertime in here. We're going to put some larger totes in here to where we can use the potting soil that we use.
Yeah.
And then we can do some fertigation with some stuff. Hippocrates says, I can smell something. Oh, wait, that's him.
Aw.
Good evening, eagle lover.
So the basil was another thing that was up whenever we had that really bad mistake in the greenhouse. And
basil's sensitive.
Basil is very sensitive to cold, and you can see the stuff that got hit really hard, but you can also see that it actually recovered pretty darn decently. And so it's kind of a cool thing that we had that mishap, because you kind of can see how hardy some of this stuff actually is. Now remember, whenever that happened, we didn't touch anything. I mean, like, we just walked right out and just turned the heat up.
Turn the heat back on and
just kind of just walked out and let it go. So it came up to temperature, slowly. But things were very, very hardy. Just a little damage, but things that you would just assume would be completely dead have actually turned out just fine. So, and I don't know if we'll get over to the other tomatoes or not, but this group of big bushy stuff right here is all the tomatoes that was in the house whenever that freeze happened. And you can't even tell. I mean, like we've talked before that we don't know if it'll hurt the production of them. We're going to kind of see that and do a trial on it, but you can't tell that they got hit.
And what we've talked about how we're going to actually do that with the heirloom tomatoes, because we still do some heirloom tomatoes. I'm going to set you over here, but we still do some heirloom tomatoes, and we won't be able to tell with those, obviously, but what we will be able to tell, I can do it this way. And what we will be able to tell is on the other ones, because we keep records, or this year we're going to keep good records on the production out of each row. We are going to end up doing, I think it's right now I've got 10, 15, around 15 rows we'll do throughout the year. I am planning on having tomatoes, the last harvest, I think around Christmas, with tomatoes. So that's, whether that works or not, I am going to. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
What I've got planned there is where we're starting tomatoes. Tomatoes will go in this week. No,
Yep.
next week. Next week.
Yep.
Your first planting will go in next week, and I've got those in a tunnel where we can turn the heat up. We're not going to turn the heat up. We're going to keep the heat at a minimum. I may turn it up. I think it's sitting at 40 degrees right now. We've had it there for a while, but it never comes on. But we're going to turn it to. I'll probably turn it 45 or 50. I may push it to 50 since it looks like the temperatures are going to be there anyway. So we may row cover them. We're experimenting. But with that said, what I'm going to plan on doing is we'll put them in that same house at the end of the year. They'll have several rounds of lettuce between there, some radish, some turnips in there. But we're going to experiment and see if we can keep that production going at a 50-degree high temperature or whatever it gets in during the day with sunlight. So it's just another experiment. We're going to find out. But
So keeping going here, we got David's flowers.
which the flowers are like now 4 years old, three or 4 years old,
Yeah.
the seed wise.
Yeah, so he had really bad germination.
Is horrible germination, and it's 100%. It's really good seed. The seed that we had planted in the past has come up beautifully.
Yeah.
And that just shows you that the amount of time the seeds were not in the freezer.
No.
And so they've just been out. They've been in a dark, dry spot, not always necessarily what I'd say cool.
Yeah, no, not optimal by any means.
Correct. So
keep the
it just shows you
germination
the detriment that happens to seeds over time. So
yeah. So we've got head lettuces, and then this back here is chard. This is something that if you're wanting a come again crop, it is a harvest. Basically, you do 2 plantings a year, and you just harvest off of it.
And you can take it all the way down to where it almost has 2 leaves.
Yeah, you can take it down to like 1 stem. If you haven't ever messed with chard before, it's a unique vegetable. The leaves on it, it's like an Asian type spinach. It's a crossbreed between spinach and celery. So I kind of explain it to people whenever they ask me what the heck it is. The leaf on it, so Swiss chard, it's called Swiss chard, and it has a stalk on it like a celery stalk. And then the leaflet on it
looks like celery. It looks like celery stalk, but it doesn't have the more mature it goes, it has fibrous, but the younger it is, it doesn't have fibrous. It's not like a celery that has strings and stuff like that in it.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's like it'd be like a young celery on it. But it is used for so the leaf on it is more spinachy. It's a tougher leaf. It tastes like spinach.
But the color is amazing.
The color is absolutely amazing. When people look at it, they think that it's rhubarb. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the larger plant actually looks like. Think of rhubarb with a spinach leaf. And
there's lots of varieties that have just the red like a rhubarb does, but the varieties that we've always done is the rainbow. So you get yellow and pink and red.
It's a beautiful, beautiful
all kinds
vegetable.
of colors. So.
But you can use that rib as celery replacement, and then that top leaf you can use for like a spinach replacement. So it's a very versatile crop. But when you harvest it, you just break it off of the bottom stem, and it just keeps growing. So if you leave 1 or 2 leaves or stalks off of it, you can basically harvest off of it all year long, and you only need like 2 plantings on it. And it is a very florific type of plant. So next up, we've got comfrey. I've planted Andrew's comfrey.
Well, it's already coming up too.
Wow. So there's 20 pieces in there. I've got 4 rows. 4 rows of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
And how many days ago did you plant that?
The 9th. So that was last week?
Today's the 13th.
Yeah, so that's a couple days old. I don't think that's comfrey.
I don't think so either.
That
But
looks
don't
like
pick.
radish.
Don't pick it.
Radish.
How do you get all these radishes? Seed control. Now I will be surprised. We were talking about chestnuts. This is not going to be a good representation of chestnuts. She has chestnuts in here. I didn't know she even had done this with the comfrey and the chestnuts. The comfrey, I'll turn this over here. Billy Bond is where we got the comfrey from. And I believe we got that in September, October. It was right before the self-preparedness, the almost sure, Self-Reliance Festival. I had ordered it from Billy. Came in wonderfully. Came in quick. Thank you, Billy. I screwed up and I had not put it in the ground yet. So we're going to test it. It has been in the refrigerator the whole time. In the plastic, it looked fine. Nothing looked wrong with it, even when we we're getting in here. So we're going to see. The chestnuts are a whole nother story. Those things may be a year old.
Yeah.
They were from last spring.
Yeah.
When they were harvested.
Yeah.
They were harvested last year sometime.
Yeah.
And so those were in the fridge as well. I would be surprised, and I don't necessarily wouldn't put them in the potting soil like this.
I looked it up and
it can happen, but
I'll see. We'll see.
We'll do a whole nother video on that. I've got another source of chestnuts that I'm going to be getting a bunch more from, and we'll do some videos on chestnuts and how to plant them. Yeah. Where did you get your comfrey from? So I didn't even see that question, but that's where we got it from, Billy Bond. So, and I know you guys have some comfrey as well. So I'd be very interested in, I'm not sure where you guys got yours from, but I'd be interested in getting some cuttings from you guys and growing them side by side to see if there's a difference actually. But I'll turn you back over to the greenhouse.
He's really doing a floppity around.
Sorry. I know it. If you have vertigo, I sincerely apologize I'm not a very steady hand either.
So, pan down just a little bit. There you go. So these here are
those regrown once or twice?
This is their second regrow. Okay.
The second regrow. So you grew them up once, cut them,
and this is what's grown again.
Okay.
So these are ready to go out for chicken food.
Absolutely. And there you go. So you can see how brown those roots are. I'm not sure exactly why they're that brown.
Well, and the peas on them are starting to
turn black. This is a fresh cut.
And so they're done.
And I would have guessed that's wet is why. I'm going to go back over here real quick because I know this is freshly cut too. There's how white those are. So they're probably staying a little wet, and that's probably why the roots are dying off. And this is our stack that we need to get into the compost here. But that is chicken food. That's stuff that we've gotten planted. And yeah, the tomatoes just keep growing in there. So
still a lot
and again, if you guys have any questions, just be on there and I'll catch them here.
I was able to get rhubarb to go from seed this year. So we're going to put in 300-foot beds of rhubarb, which I know that is like going to be
300 foot.
Absolutely crazy.
But the one thing that we've always had is people always ask for rhubarb, and nobody can ever find rhubarb. So I don't know if it's just that year or what, but we've got now 400 feet of it's 400 feet almost of asparagus.
Yeah.
And so these are going to go next to the asparagus and put another 300 foot of this. So, and these things will survive about anything, as we know with our other plants. So
if we don't have anything else to eat, I guess we have rhubarb and asparagus.
You just gotta find me some strawberries now. We used to do strawberries, and I'm not sure that eventually I'll get back to those. Again, just more peppers and just the other side of the table. So we'll go through those as they get a little older.
So now these are all of the tomatoes that had gotten hit by the frozenness in the greenhouse.
Even these things.
And you can see these were ones that we had up potted, and like we had just up potted them. They are definitely ready to go out.
Well, then, or we'll just we have a 6-inch pot. Those are probably going to have to get up potted again, but
you can see that there's a little bit of yellowing on the leaves, and some of them are a little deformed. But
I'm not sure what that white tip
all
is.
of the new vegetation looks really, really good.
They're ready to be up potted. I mean, you can start seeing some yellowing in some of these, and some of that's just crowdedness, I think.
We kind of like threw them over here and was
they were lost and forgotten. Pull that one off.
Yeah, they were. That was not bad. Of course, on a tomato.
No, that one looks pretty good.
On a tomato, basically, you could take all these bottom leaves off and plant that sucker, a foot deep, and it would be perfectly happy.
Or you could trench it.
Set it sideways,
and it'll grow back straight up.
And it'll grow straight up too.
So we're probably gonna have to up pot these, and we'll bury them as we up pot them. But
there's some in here.
We have the room for them, and they could go inside, but we just have to get the lettuce harvested. So
yeah, so they'll start to go in. I'll get their beds ready on Thursday.
And see, there's a problem right there. So they're starting to get stressed already. So if you start seeing tomatoes starting to flower, they need to be up potted. That's a stress. They're telling themselves they need to be going to seed.
These are our secures. They're our cherries. They are very
they
fruit a lot.
They fruit a lot, and they're very prolific. This is our project for tonight as well. This is something we've been saying we need to up pot, and I don't know that we're going to get to it tonight, but we're going to try to get some done. But up potting is our next big. I've got to build some more tables in here too, because believe it or not, this is a 20 by 60, and for the last 4 years we've operated out of a 20 by 20.
So a third of it.
These would have been on the ground. We've been stuffing stuff everywhere. We've already got, even with all this stuff in here, we've got 2 high tunnels completely full right now. We've got outside gardens, several beds out there. We've got a cat tunnel completely full. So even with all this that we're still going, and we're still running out of room almost. But Hippocrates, when it's really hot outside, I love just grabbing a stalk of rhubarb and eating it. Just never had it come back the second year.
Oh, really? So I think rhubarb.
Go grab those rhubarb off the.
Yeah, so the rhubarb.
Go grab those pots right there. They need to freeze. Isn't that what we read?
Yeah. So,
we're not well versed, I wouldn't say, on rhubarb.
No, this is we grew these from seed last year. They've been in this pot for
a year. And they sat outside next in the parking lot, gravel parking lot, I think.
No, these were in the greenhouse.
Oh, those are set in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
So but they didn't get watered. They got whatever residual water that was watered around.
Yeah, I basically about killed them.
And then the greenhouse froze because we didn't start that greenhouse up until.
Yeah, so when they came out to do our inspection for our certification, the MU guy, the extension guy that did our
MU's being University of Missouri.
Yeah, but he said that on rhubarb it needs to freeze. The roots need to freeze for them to be able to grow successfully the next year. So maybe
that's why you're not getting the second year of growth. You're not getting a freeze.
Yeah, maybe they're just not freezing. But we have rhubarb and pies, but since we don't really have any around, we can't do what you're doing, but maybe this year we can, because I need to get this in the ground. But I think it might not be until next year before we can actually harvest it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
These are all of our onion bulbs that I'm ready to get outside. This system, and we've talked about the paper pot system before, and we will do a video on this. It's really hard to kind of explain. We don't use this system very much anymore because we're using row cover, but what a time saver as far as planting goes. Um, but you still have to weed, and that's why we're not using it right now. We use it for the beets that were over there are in it, and the onions are in it right now. So
Like
that's cilantro.
celery?
Celery is cilantro.
Cilantro.
How are you getting all these herbs and stuff?
Oh no, but that's cilantro. It's good in salsa.
I can smell it.
Don't eat it by itself.
All right, what else you got there? What this is all that's left over in the kale.
Yeah, these are the kale that
We got all planted, and we just when we plant something outside, I like to go ahead and keep if we have extra stuff at least for a few weeks, in case anything dies. We can replant some of those individual ones. This is the lost in the auto, dinosaur kale, and this is curly kale. So
that's it though.
and that's it.
That's a greenhouse tour for you.
So, like I said, we've got to get. I'm going to turn you around because those tables, and I can't point. This is really confusing always. Those are just plastic tables. I've got to get the rest of that built tonight. You can see the tables on the very end down there. Those are my tabletops. And then I've got to come back up through this whole side. So I'm just lacking table space because this whole side does not have any tables on it yet. So that is the greenhouse tour. Again, there's those beets. She was talking about the chard, but there's the beets over here that are in that paper pot system as well. So we'll come over here and set you down for a minute because I'm going to sneeze, I think. Holy moly.
You need to come this or
Yeah. You hold it for a minute. I'm going to go over here and sneeze.
I guess the cilantro got to him.
I don't have seasoning.
I think it was an excuse for him to get his coffee. That is
But
probably cool.
I do need some coffee.
So, anyways, that took a whole hour and a half.
Table warm.
Table
So,
warm.
yeah, it's like, but
okay.
No, so it's been busy. Obviously. We are prepping for market this weekend.
Yeah, first market for Kansas City is this weekend.
And so I've been working on getting everything for the wash pack area up and going. Going to try to do some videos on that. Actually, I'll do a video tonight. I'll have somebody film me. I'm building a new, bigger bubbler for the lettuce and for the greens and keep those roots and stuff in that every now and then. Pretty simple build, but the one we have now is the 40-gallon one, and I need a 110-gallon one. So I'm going to put that together. Just a little bit bigger PVC pipe that I need on that and some drill holes. So I'll get that video out. So kind of an interesting little build. Been working on the market stand and just getting that kind of stuff ready. So got some boards cut right before we came on tonight. And we're going to go back in the house here in a little while and put that all together and kind of get an idea what that's going to look like.
Do a pre-setup.
Pre-setup, and yeah.
I know how to decorate things and stack stuff whenever I get there, I kind of already have this design in my head of how things are going to flow and all that kind of thing. It super helps.
Yeah. But yeah, just working on, obviously during the day, you're harvesting and planting, and a lot less planting now, but you did a lot of planting today.
Mm-hmm. And to get the planting done.
So harvest to harvest. And I think we've got, I don't know how many bed feet of spinach we've got now, but like
it looks really good.
600 bed feet of spinach. So
Yeah.
that's going to have to start getting harvested. We'll try to get. We'll probably get. I'm hoping still to get about 200 to 300 pounds of spinach per bed, because we'll hand pick what we have right now. The last cutting of spinach we'll cut with a knife, and that'll be the last cutting of that. But that'll be. I'm figuring probably mid-May before we end up getting rid of the spinach, or the spinach will be the last. So we'll have all the rest of this month and all of April. But it just towards the end of May, we start getting too warm. We may, depending on the year, we may push it into June, which would be great. But right now we're doing supposed to be a 4x6, but some of our rows are a 5x6. Right
yeah,
now.
so some of our beds are 40-inch beds instead of 30-inch beds, and
those are tomato beds.
Those are our tomato beds. Yeah, that's the only reason that they're that size is because they're tomato beds.
Yeah. So that's just kind of a custom thing that we followed behind that. So even then, all the gardening we're doing on even that kind of stuff is considered intensive gardening, because the tomatoes are only a foot apart. Now that's a foot here, and then over here is a foot, and they're in row. So there's 2 rows in a bed.
Yeah.
But in row, they're 2 foot apart.
Yeah.
But they're diagonally a foot apart.
Yeah.
So pretty intensive. We have to kind of watch our soils and nutrients and all that good stuff with that. But man, you can really crank out the production doing it that way too. You just have to kind of keep soil samples. So.
Yeah.
What else anything else? Nothing?
No.
I don't know.
My life gets pretty consistent about this time of year. Cows and garden.
Been having babies. Had your first black calf.
First black cow.
That's probably really loud.
Sorry.
Banging on that.
Banging on the table. I have found it very funny that so we had Charlet bowls that were on summer last year with these black cows.
All black Angus.
All black Angus. And I seriously don't know what the owner was trying to go for. I need to ask him, because maybe he was looking for this. I don't know. But like 99 now, 98% of the calves that have been born are gray.
They look Murray Gray is what they look. And Murray Gray is not a black Angus with a Charlet. That's not what a Murray Gray is. But
I think he was looking for a black body, bald faced cow. He's not getting that.
Yeah, which I don't know that would be true. That'd be more of a Hereford trait, but
yeah,
it's possible.
So,
I don't know.
I don't know, but I basically have had all gray calves, except for yesterday. I did have one black calf. So,
and of course, the mother is all kinds of spooky.
Yeah, well, today she was a lot better.
Okay.
And so I don't know if it was just all the commotion of me getting stuck in the field yesterday, and Andrew happened to come pull me out. That kind of had everybody all wound up a little bit. Because when I moved him over this morning, she wasn't spooky at all. She came across, and
good.
So.
But no, grass is starting to green up, but we're still feeding hay. Not there yet. I'm ready for green.
I'm super ready for green.
I'm ready for some dry weather so we can get some planting done in the fields. So there's some cover crop stuff. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Hippocrates just said, I really wish I had the freedom to just work on projects and stuff rather than sitting inside, itching to keep busy in the dirt and smelling fresh plants, grazing as I garden. Yep. Yeah, I definitely I feel you on that. I think we talked about that last time. We had a stint in our life where we had kind of been in the same position you are, Hippocrates, and I feel for you.
It's hard to get too far out, especially if you're the only one, there as caretaker. I mean, it's like you can go out 5 minutes, maybe 15, and then, make your rounds back into the house, make sure everything's fine. You just have a lot of disruptions. Not that it's a bad disruption. It's just hard to get things done.
Yep. Yeah. So, the only thing I've harvested is an occasional shiitake mushroom and a couple of flushes of foraged wood ear mushrooms. So I'm really looking forward to mushroom season. They've been
Yeah.
popping up here in the south, it sounds like. So
Already?
it takes 45-degree, no, yeah, I think 45-degree soil temperature is when they can actually start. Maybe it's
But it's
55.
gonna be 5 degrees down there.
No, he said below freezing.
Oh.
4 to 5 days of below freezing. He didn't
Oh.
say 4 to 5 degrees. If it was going to be 4 to 5 degrees down there, it's going to be 4 to 5 degrees up here. So,
Well, there was a storm going through, so.
but yeah, no, mushroom season's definitely. I don't get out as much as I want to, but
one of the things that, and maybe I'll pick one up at the Kansas City market, but one of the things that I have always wanted to do is one of those mushroom boxes that you put on your countertop and it grows all the funky mushrooms.
I don't think you put it on your countertop, do you?
Yeah. You just put it's a mushrooms in a bag. And there's a vendor at the market that sells mushrooms in a box. And
well, it's definitely one of those things that, again, if I had the time, I would love to do the oak logs.
Oh yeah, I would too.
Doing the mushroom logs and stuff like that. It's just one of those.
I'm thinking you guys don't eat mushrooms.
Oh, I love mushrooms.
Nobody else does. Just
Well,
you and I.
That's fine.
And I guess you could dehydrate them. I don't know. Have you ever dehydrated them? Because I do buy the powdered mushrooms so that I have it on hand so I can make like mushroom soup or whatever.
Yeah, because everything that has mushroom cream and mushroom or anything,
It's
I don't
all
do milk, so
Yeah.
that's really nice when I actually have stuff that I can eat without milk. But
mushroom gravy. But
yeah, okay. Well,
I've got 11% left on my phone, so
that's lots of time. That's like 11 minutes in the football game, right? That's all the time in the world.
all the time.
Okay, well, we've done all this and we've got some videos to make. See, it's 8:33. Hope everybody's surviving the daylight savings time fast forward in your life. Lose an hour of sleep. Supposed to get up to do the gym tonight this morning, and that didn't happen.
Hey,
so
at 4:00 I went. It's 4:00. It's 4:11. Are we going?
Tag says mushrooms are nasty.
What? No.
Tag.
You don't like this.
Hippocrates says Tag has poor taste, except in spouses. And that is very true.
No squash.
No squash, no mushrooms.
No mushrooms.
What are you going to eat, man? What are you going to eat?
No kidding. Man, you're going to go hungry. And desserts. Yeah.
But what was you?
Oh.
What you just said something? I've lost it. Anyway, we're gonna go do the video for the bubbler. And we're gonna go do. There's something else.
Oh, you're talking about daylight savings time.
Oh, daylight savings time. Yeah.
And I was gonna say, if they didn't actually tell you that the time changed, and you didn't put that mentally in your head, I don't know that. Yeah, you'd lose an hour of sleep. You'd be a little groggy for maybe a day, but it seems like it lasts for a whole week. Whenever you know, because you know that you lost an hour, and it's like, oh, I lost an hour this week.
If they didn't tell you that you lost an hour, you wouldn't have lost an hour because the time would have never changed for you, but you'd been late for everything else.
But
so there's that.
Such a technology world, all of our clocks would just change because they would just change them for us, and you would have no idea that it even happened.
If you want to go down that rabbit hole, really, you're going to sit here and tell me that you wouldn't notice that you lost an hour of sleep. So that means
I would say it's 8:30. I need to go to bed in an hour and a half.
Well, that's not what time you normally do. And so if I kept you at the same time and I get you up an hour earlier, you're not going to notice.
Well, yeah, so if I kept going off the clock. So here in an
if I just switch the clocks, I can keep you up later, working later.
That's not a good idea.
You're not going to notice?
Yes.
No, you just said you wouldn't. I got a plan.
You can't change everything. I will find out.
Yes. Daylight savings time is stupid. I had to think about that. I was like, what is DST? What is DST? Hippocrates says never trust someone who doesn't like squash every day.
Every day.
So I don't know if I know they passed the House, but I don't know if it passed the Senate last year for daylight savings time. But I don't know if they ratified it. But they had passed it to where they were going to keep daylight savings time. Now I don't know if that's gone through in the complete cycle of what it needs to, but at this point, pick one. You know, I'd prefer daylight savings time and just keep it where we're at right now, just because I like having later sunlight later as opposed to earlier.
Yeah.
But I know there are some states, Arizona, I don't think.
Yeah, there's a couple that don't even change.
Yeah, don't even change, which really screws with things, I would think, because they're going to be at some point, like they're an hour behind us right now, or maybe two, depending on where you're at in Arizona. But does that mean when we change, there's 3 hours?
I don't
Or
have any idea. I always have to look at a map whenever somebody says, I'm in like whatever time zone. I'm like, okay. Google.
Yeah.
Are you ahead of me or behind me?
Beef.
You need to get mini cows.
It's pink in here. I'm just now noticing that.
Well, the lights are pink.
Yeah. I'll keep the comments that your father said.
Yeah, keep those comments to yourself.
When I first put the lights up, which I didn't know they were pink. They're grow lights. They're out of these actually, just so these lights actually came from our microgreen setup inside.
Yeah.
And so these were what we were growing microgreens with on the inside. And I told my father-in-law when I put them up, I said, well, I just like to come in here and turn them on so I feel pretty.
When you're in here for a while, it doesn't look pink. But if you go outside and you look this way, it's like
it's a big pink worm from the highways. So if you drive by and you see a pink worm out in the field, that's us.
And they're only on whenever we're in here. I mean, it truly is just an LED light that we.
It says it's still 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's daylight savings or not. You still only have 24 hours.
Yeah. But
so.
All right. Well.
Anyway.
From the pretty pink caterpillar.
I guess we're signing off. So pull up a chair.
Until next time.
Oh, until next time.
Pull up a chair.
Welcome, Tabletop Farms.
You guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful week. We will see you a little later.
See ya. Go for it.
I don't know.
And